Hey, this is Lige, and you're listening to TCR.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello and welcome to another edition of The Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast. Episode 106 coming to you live, pre-recorded from an undisclosed location. The date, May 23rd, 2018. The time, 7:52 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'll be one of your hosts for this evening. My name is Tim. Hello. Alongside me, as always, we have Brett. Hello, Brett.
What's up, guys?
And with us is Anuj. Hello, Anuj.
Namaste.
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 Look at you being all cultured.
It's almost racist, though, that he's doing it, in a way.
Does it feel right?
No. But I'll tell you what does feel right, this episode. Because this is going to be the best episode ever. Why, you might ask? We have a brand new segment called Word on the Street. Surely to have zero production value, as we just came up with this segment earlier today. That segment will entail of rumors and things that we have heard, unconfirmed rumors, but rumors nonetheless. Some you might even hear first on the Center Ring. We will give our impressions on Call of Duty Black Ops 4, but more from an esports perspective. It seems like Activision is really pushing that agenda. And, of course, we'll recap some ESL Dallas, play some audio from the interview. But before we do that, I ask you to follow us on Twitter, at The Center Ring. You can hit us up on our website, tcr.gg. There's a little email thing you can go. Discord link. You can join the Discord with all of our other listeners and say hi. And that's about it. Our website will pretty much cover everything. Let's get into the show here. Because last weekend was ESL Pro League Final for their Season 7. And it was held in Dallas, just like Season 5 was. And it looks like maybe that will be a common trend now, where we at least get one in Dallas every year. You would think, because when you're there, they constantly tell you, the birthplace of esports. So it'd be kind of weird to just yoink it from Dallas, don't you think? This is where you guys come in.
I think it's kind of lame that they use the same video that they did last year, right? Like the same intro video to "This is Dallas."
It's kind of lazy.
Of CS:GO. Yeah, it is kind of lazy.
It was a bit lazy. You had an entire year to get some new skyline shots.
We thought our production value was bad.
Yeah, for real. You thought it was lazy that we're still using liners from players that aren't even with the team anymore. Oh. But nonetheless, it was still an awesome event. I really enjoyed it. I don't know. Do you guys want to touch? We didn't really prep this ahead of time. But let's talk about just the event first, then we'll get into the teams and all that going forward. But I really thought it ran smoothly. I'm always interested when we go to an event like this, because it seems like when you're at an event, it runs really smooth, right? Like there's no you don't notice the tech delays as much, if there were any. I don't even think there was any for this.
It helps when they're giving out full things of Tolbarone, though, dude.
A full Reese's cup in the press room. Whew.
Peanut butter M&Ms.
They like pump you full of sugar and coffee.
Dude, I've never had so much candy in such a long time. But yeah, free Red Bull, free candy, free sandwiches, everything. It was ESL treats the media well.
And we're gonna relive that in like 9 days, gentlemen.
Yeah,
more eating factor.
More sugar.
Yeah. No, they really do. ESL, for all the shit that they get, whether it comes to Facebook and all this other stuff, man, the way they treat the media, they make you feel important and special, and that's pretty cool, because we've done other events where it's like, wait, does anybody even know we're here?
Yeah, you go back in the press area, which is like behind this giant curtain, and it's pitch black. You can't see anything because it's like in a convention center. We won't name names, but it's like you couldn't do anything back there because it was so dark because they had the lights off. There was nothing there. And, I mean, I get it. We're just the media, right? We shouldn't be spoiled. But it doesn't hurt to spoil us once in a while. So it's very hard to have an unbiased opinion about ESL when I feel like they're so nice. They're just nice people. But I do wonder.
The unnamed event that we won't name, codename GLM or something, let's just say. That was tough compared to this one. Because this was really cool. This was fun. And the access is great to the players. And you meet a lot of people. You hear a lot of things. I mean, it's just cool. It was just a fun event.
Mm-hmm.
And in the presentation on stage, like that also I thought looks really nice. Like they do a good job, and the Dallas fans are good. I don't think we're the best out there. I wouldn't say that, but it still ends up getting pretty loud in there.
It's the Verizon Theater is to me like one of like the perfect setup for esports because you just have the single stage. I mean, no matter where you're sitting in that place, you're going to be able to see the screens. They got 3 big screens going on. It's a really good venue.
Yeah, I mean it's a numbers game, right? Like you went to Columbus and watched a major, and I'm sure it was loud because it's an arena and there's thousands of more people in there. But I felt like, I'm with you guys. Like that is a perfect venue. It's not too little, not too much. It's just right.
And I can't really make a fair comparison between like Columbus and this because Columbus was a major after all, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, yes, there's more people there, but at the same time, the hype level for a major is just so different. In my opinion, I think the crowd's kind of lame. I wish we were a little bit more.
I was trying to be nice.
No, I'll say it. I thought it was kind of lame. I wish the crowd was more in sync with each other, right? You have some people trying to start this chant, and the other people are starting this chant, and their clapping is all out of rhythm. And but I blame.
It's hard following up Sydney, dude. It really
I blame the Thundersticks.
There it is, right there.
I blame the Thundersticks because well, first off, they get in your way, right? You have that kid behind you constantly banging his together, and they cover up the actual like crowd noise. Like I felt like people were chanting USA, but you never heard it because the Thundersticks were just covering it up. I don't like them.
It's like pumping in false volume almost.
It is.
Yeah. And the USA chant bothers me because like Liquid,
it's old.
Like Liquid, they have 2 Canadians and two
Brazilian
Americans and a Brazilian. But Taco embraced it. Like he brought out the American flag, wrapped around his shoulders. Like
but I agree, it is old. It gets.
Yeah, no other country chants out their name. You don't hear them saying like Brazil or whatever. You just don't hear it.
I will say to this day though, I get chills every time I think about the Columbus Major when Liquid was on stage, and when they were walking out, the entire stadium unprompted, right? Like a little group started doing it, and then everyone did it, where we stood up, took off our hats, and then sang the national anthem. But it was like a cappella because there was no music being piped in or anything. Everyone just did it.
That's pretty cool, yeah.
Being in a stadium with like 10,000 other people, however many were there, it was pretty surreal, honestly. Like that was awesome, and everyone was in it. But I don't know. Maybe it's just. I think it's the Thundersticks. I blame the Thundersticks.
Well, this is not that, but it's still a good event.
It's still an awesome event, right? Like I said, don't take my comparison towards a major to this, but it's a really fun event. The players seem to enjoy it every year when we talk to them, which we'll play some audio here later on from some of our interviews. But if you wanted to look at all of the interviews and hear the full interviews, because each of them are about 5 to 10 minutes long, you can go to our YouTube, which you can find through our website or Twitter. And you can hear all of our player interviews and everything there. But getting into the actual play of the event, I want to start with some of the upsets. And I think when you look at how this placed, Cloud9 to me was the first. They were an upset but not a surprise because it just seems like Cloud9 cannot get out of groups. Like it seems like they're back to their old ways.
Cloud9 had a tough time in this tournament. I mean, they shouldn't. It was really. What was their first game? They got dominated, I believe, wasn't it FaZe? I think FaZe was the first game. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
they played FaZe and lost 63, and it was just such a tough start to the tournament. And and they had a little bit of a gimme in the next matchup. But even that, I felt like that should have been a 2-0 versus Sharks instead
Yeah.
of being a 2-1 there.
Yeah.
And then Heroic came to play this tournament. Heroic played pretty well. They were the NA killer, and Cloud9 just didn't seem like much of a match for them going down 2-0. So yeah,
No,
they were a
And
disappointment.
if you tell me, okay, 16-3 beginning of the tournament, okay, I can get over that. But the way FaZe looked against Astralis, that even makes that Cloud9 match look a little bit worse.
the fact that later on FaZe said they had a off tournament. So
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
16-3'd Cloud9 on your off tournament, what was wrong with Cloud9? And we did talk to FNS. Was it Saturday? And he was saying, like, they literally, ever since he joined the team, haven't really had a chance to practice. Like, their practice are at events. So I think, which is kind of crazy because there are some events they look really good.
29 days or something, he said.
Yeah. So I think
Was like something
going
crazy?
into
That's
ECS,
insane.
which is in like 2 weeks, they're basically boot camping over there, right? He said they're boot camping in Europe, and this is
Yeah.
honestly the first time since joining the team that as an IGL, he can actually boot camp and practice with his team. Up
Yeah, he
until
mentioned
now,
his
it's
calling
pretty
was
much
like
been on the fly.
60-40. Yeah, it's been, what do you say, 60-40, right? Him and Automatic.
Yeah, he says he
So
pretty
he
much handles
mentioned-
the beginning, and then Automatic handles the mid game.
Which is expected because the beginning is a little bit easier. It's more structured to call, right? And then the mid game, it has to be on the flow, and you have to know what people's tendencies are on your team. So,
Yeah.
Interesting that it was Automatic that was doing it. I think you and me both were thinking he was going to say, Tariq was the one helping out there. But yeah, he had mentioned that Automatic was the go-to there mid game. One of the other disappointing teams for me though was NRG. Was
Yeah.
hoping to see a lot from them with the way they had performed in both ECS and ESL, and to come out and put up a stinker in your first game against Heroic again, who took out Cloud9, and then really not much of a fight against Mouse either. So, they would be my disappointment of the tournament. I think it's really tough to end up playing Mouse in that second part of the lower bracket because they beat MVP, but they should have beat MVP again. That was 2-1. But unfortunate having to play Mouse there, but still they just were a little underwhelming, and that was kind of sad because I was really hoping they would do well.
My thing with NRG was going into this tournament, right? What was the constant you always heard was NRG, yeah, they're doing what they're doing, but it's all online. Wait till they get to a LAN. And it seems like the 3 or 4 tournaments they've had where they had a chance to prove that, hey, we're on LAN and now we're going to do better, they just don't. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's a repeat of ESL last year, right? Like, just for whatever reason, they get to LAN, they don't do very well.
Yeah, I mean,
kind of like Space Soldier. Space Soldier is the same way, right? Space Soldier is so good online, and these guys come to LAN and vanish completely, and so it's just.
And I get it that there's, I mean, they play completely different, right? Like if you've never actually played, say you play a game hardcore online, and then if you've never played it on LAN, I really implore you to go find a local LAN center or ask your buddies to come over and try a LAN, because it really does feel completely different. Like a game on a local area network where everyone has like 3 ping, it feels different.
It's not even that. Like me and one of our friends, Branderson, were talking about this other day about DreamHack, and it's like, man, if my desk chair isn't like the same height and I can't put my same amount of space of my arm on like the mat, and how close I sit to the monitor, and kind of how just every little positioning makes such a big difference to us when we're playing. Like I like to be in the same little routine every time. So yeah, I can't imagine doing that for such an intense situation where there's so much on the line, and I mean,
especially if you're NRG, where the only lands you're making are the ones that you qualify for. They're not
like, it's just
they're
a
not getting
handful a
invited
year.
nearly as much as other teams.
No, I agree. I think that's going to be challenging for a team like that versus like a Mouse who's at every single major event, and are constantly on the move. So yeah, that's tough. But there were a lot of teams that we thought did really well that showed up that was kind of unexpected. I thought Optic was definitely one of them. Didn't see that coming necessarily, especially taking out Brett and our hometown boys of Ninjas. Ninjas again, I guess would be again on the disappointing end there, right? They just got
Yeah,
smacked.
but in their defense, I remember we did the preview show for ESL Dallas, and we did say they have the toughest route because they played SK in round 1 of groups, then they played Optic. Like, no other team had to play 2 top-tier teams going into it. Like, if you look, every other team got a softie except for NIP.
You wish they took a map or something off Optic, right? At least the SK game went into what was it,
overtime.
But again, is that much to brag about at the moment with SK's current form? So it might be another knock on you.
Is there anything else you'd like to share, Nooch? Maybe a confession about Optic?
Man.
It's okay. It's a safe place. You can tell the listener.
So we interviewed Cajun, Mr. Cajun B. Gotta say, dude's a good guy. He's a good guy.
Good
I don't know how to say it.
Good
dude. Really good dude.
You talk so much smack polite. Going into this, saying, I hate all of them. All of Optic.
They're so cocky.
I even called him out on it. I even asked him, what's wrong with you Danish people, okay? And you know what? He's just solid. He's a stand-up individual.
He was honest. He said, there are a lot of people in the Danish CSGO scene that are toxic. They like drama and they're toxic.
No, but he was a cool guy. It made me,
you think
appreciate
he was
them a little bit more.
About his own teammate on that one a little bit. Like
he's like, yeah, there's a lot of toxic players in the community. Config being one of them. Maybe we'll say that word on the street. But yeah, I mean, he
was actually really nice. And so this happens all the time, though, right? So, and this is not just in esports, but like any media, right? Like I always go in with these preconceptions of players, and then you interview players, and you're like, damn.
I didn't want to like.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. And like with Cajun, we were like, I don't think this was recorded. I think this was after just with us messing around with them. But we were like, oh yeah, we're gonna be at DreamHack Austin. We'll see you there. And he was like, oh really? Oh, well, come find me. I'd love to say hi. And we were like, yeah, we're gonna have like our banner at our desks. And he's like, oh, are you playing? I didn't know. And we were like, well, hold up. Like he thought we were playing like in like a real tournament, and we're like, no, we're playing in the DreamHack tournament. But he's like, oh, if I see your banner, I'll come say hi. And we were like, no, you won't. but man, what would you do if you just were playing? And then I told him, I was like, bro, if you come by, you can take my place in the open tournament there. Like no one will know.
If and when we run into him, I'd just be happy if you remembered us from this past week.
Man,
I would like to think we would because we talked a lot about Austin.
We talked a lot. We told them about 6th Street. We said there's a lot of girls there. Like we were saying, like, hey, you can come hang out with us. But then
it's imperative that you keep the stash and I keep the beard.
I was gonna say at the end of the day, you're an Indian and I'm a white guy with a pretty badass mustache. We're we're not that forgettable. People.
It's like Harold and Kumar walking around. Dude,
yeah, like real. We are pretty.
Like up there.
We stand out, so I don't think it'd be difficult to see. In fact, we met one of our listeners out there, Sam, and he messaged me on Twitter. I was like, just look for the Indian and the white guy with the mustache, and
found us in 10 seconds.
You should be able to find us pretty quick. So Optic, yeah, they actually had a pretty good tournament. And, for a newer roster, I think even the one common ground that when you talk to all the players, right, it seems like most of them, like 90% of them all said, yeah, we just haven't had time to actually practice anything. Like,
ever.
It's just all traveling and tournaments.
Which is kind of funny because you're playing in a playoff for a league you've been playing for months, right? Like, there's been a lot of buildup, like months of buildup for this ESL final, and then players are like, "Yeah, we're just getting to know each other." Really, it's like, bro,
yeah, you've been playing all season. Do we bring this up already with FNS? He gave a really good answer. If you want to go on our YouTube to listen to it, we asked the question about the scheduling, and he pretty much said he's like, I think there should be 2 months off, like back-to-back months, right, where it's vacation or it's an off season. Because, like, even if you have, like, a month off, he's like, realistically, you have about a week off. Because if you have 1 month or 4 weeks off, 3 of those are teams negotiating trades. He said
it was during Christmas time.
Right.
So it's like you're with your family for, like, 2 or 3 of those weeks.
Well, and then you have trades and all that. Right. Yeah. So he's like, you maybe get a week to yourself. So he's like, give us 2 months off and that'd be fine. And you know what? One day I'm going to sit down and make a Counter-Strike schedule for everyone, and I'm going to present it on the show because I think there's a way to do it, and it's really like you have ESL, ECS are the two main leagues. I think there's a way to schedule it out to where everyone can have their cake and eat it too.
Yeah,
Um,
what was he saying? 6 months be one schedule. 6 months should be in the sense of like you do 5 actually for each one, but like the
yeah,
first 5 months can be
yeah.
ESL, and then the next 5 is like ECS, and
And
split
you
it
can
up that way, or
even,
split your
yeah, you
seasons
could
that way.
throw, or even then, yeah, well, I'll work on it because there's a way to
Yeah, I
do it.
like
There's a
that.
way everyone can have their own tournaments still. You can have majors, and even that way, you can make 2 majors and make it sense, right? Rather than now where they seem kind of random.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, there's so much chatter because how many times have we talked about on our show, right? Of like schedules being all messed up, and then players are pretty much reiterating what we're saying. So somebody needs to listen. It's an issue.
Agreed.
It's so bad.
Agreed. Um,
We got another pick for the tournament here if we want to jump back into that.
yeah,
Another winner for me on this. Let's just make this our winners losers at the same time here, right?
yeah,
This
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
works out well, I feel. So what we can do with this is on one of them is obviously Liquid. I mean, was that not the most obvious pick, right? But these guys really impressed me because they haven't had a lot of time to practice either, right? They had that one Malmo tournament where they looked really bad, and then they took some time off, and this is their first big tournament since then. But they took out Navi with what I felt like was ease. Brett, you watched most of that tournament,
Yeah.
or most of the
Yep.
that series.
Yeah. So I mean, just one takeaway. I mean, they're bringing in a new guy in Taco. He hasn't been playing very long, but on the flip side, Nitro hasn't really been opting for the team a whole while, right? Like I mean, it's been a few months, right, since he took over that role, and I would say he was the big reason they beat Navi. Like he out opt Simple. I felt like in that game.
And that was
So
like
I mean,
probably
yeah,
Simple's like worst series that he's had in the past 3 months. So you got
poor
to give the guy a break. A
poor
man's been a long
Simple
time.
man. Like that team goes how he goes. So I mean, if he's having an off game, there's nobody else on that team. I feel that just steps up
Well, and
and
he has to
carries
take
like
the
he does.
entire brunt of it too. Like Anuj said, like even if he
Yeah.
has an average game, they're gonna look bad, and it all still falls on him. Like, oh,
Mhm.
People are giving him crap
yeah,
for
like
it.
oh, Simple didn't pull this one through. It's like
He's playing at a 1.3 rating for
the
like
guy
3 months.
can't
Like no
always
pros
be
done
the
that.
guy.
But again,
Yeah.
like they looked pretty good up until that point in Liquid even themselves. You 2-0 Mouse and you 2-0 Navi. That's a pretty damn good tournament in itself right there. And then I know we kind of bashed them a little bit in the Astralis series, but it really wasn't one-sided by any means, except for Dust 2. Dust 2, obviously, I mean, it could have been more one-sided if it was 16-0, but 16-1. But Nuke, Mirage, and Inferno were all pretty close. There were two 16-14s in there and a 16-12. And one of those obviously being a win for them. They didn't look bad, they played well against who's, the number one team in the world right now. And so for a young team still growing, still learning each other, I thought that was really impressive.
Yeah, a little continuity. Kind of. They figure out how they want to play, and they got their anchor in Zeus. So that as a coach. So I'm optimistic what they can do.
It's only an 18
So
we got.
what's Oh, wait, you already said, who you said there was a good and bad. I guess the bad was Navi for
I
you.
mean, like overall, like the loser of the tournament for me I
Yeah.
think would be Cloud9 in this case. I think that was just that's just rough for them, though they didn't perform well. You were kind of hoping to see something and see a spark. Them and even Renegades, which is hard because how much can you really truly expect from them? But I thought they had a decent chance in the tournament, and I thought they would play well because Nifty had been playing so well. And then you get 2-0'd by SK,
And
and it's kind
SK's
of
one
downhill
like
from there.
that's been up in the air, right? Like you want to talk about optimism. Like no one really has had that with SK ever since Stewie joined. We talked to both Fallen and Stewie, and we'll play the audio from Stewie here in a second. But with Fallen, I straight up asked, like, when do you normally get that feeling of maybe we need to make a roster move? And he was very honest. He was like, we typically roster moves are made from outside elements. It's not really based off of if you're playing well or not. It's if you're not willing to work as a team and work through it. And he said they're not at that point. And then we talked
If you're FNX, basically.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, so you're saying Bolts is safe. Okay. Okay. But then we sat down with Stewie again, and we talked to him. I forget what the exact question was, but I think Anuj, you asked Stewie, right? Basically, his role between now versus Cloud9?
Yeah, basically, how much has your role changed in what SK is wanting you to do versus what you were doing?
All right, so let's listen to his answer here.
I feel like my role right now in SK is how it should have been when I first joined Cloud9. I'm being put as a player, and I just play. Whenever I'm told to play, I play. I do what I'm said, and when I need to give my input, I give my input. And I don't need to do anything else in that. I just need to improve my own game. I don't need to worry about anyone else, and I can focus on my own screen.
So I got the vibe from Stewie throughout that entire interview. And if you, again, go on YouTube, on our YouTube, first subscribe to our YouTube, and then watch it.
Hit that subscribe button right here
Smash
in the
that
corner.
subscribe button. I really got the vibe that he did not like being the leader in the clubhouse with Cloud9.
No, not at all. That's exact his answer. He worked around it 5 different ways there and didn't want to spit it out. But all I heard there was I didn't want to be the in-game leader, and I was pushed into that role, and I didn't want to have anything to do with it.
Like,
all I want to do is play. Let me just frag.
I don't want to be the guy.
And you can't be mad at that, right? Because I mean, everyone has their own personality. Like when I play games, like I don't like to do any leading. I just like to, you tell me where to be and I'll be there. So I mean, it's just a mindset.
Yeah, I mean, it's all personality. Like you said, right? If we're all playing, I would never assume Brett would be the one giving the orders. And then me and Anuj definitely are comfortable with, like, all right, let's do this. Let's try this or do whatever. And it's weird that
and
it's
on another
coming from
side of that, though, it's
Stewie.
usually not the best player that's doing that in CS. Like in some games there are, right? Like the caller can be, but usually in Counter-Strike, if you are IGLing, you're not necessarily the best player on that team. Cold Zero, Nico,
Kerrigan.
yeah. I mean, there's hundreds of Cloud9. There's just from team after team. So I get Stewie not wanting to add that responsibility when he knows he's probably the top fragger on the team. Also, like let him do what he's supposed to do best and put those duties on somebody else. Like automatic stepping up now. I wish they kind of tried that before, and maybe that would have worked out better, and he would have ultimately stayed.
We also have which one do you want to talk first? Because now we're kind of getting into. You know what? Let's play some Guardian audio with FaZe because I really want to talk about Astralis in its own.
Yep.
Because I think I'm guilty of living under a rock or something with Astralis. So we caught up with Guardian from FaZe after they were eliminated. So this was the day after on Sunday. So they were eliminated on Saturday, where Guardian had historically one of his worst matches ever. It's the first time I think in the year 2018 he went negative. Like at one point he had 0 kills and he finally was like 1 in 15, and he had in good jest and good spirit. He was like laughing about it. So I mean, he
fist pumping.
Yeah, the entire team took it in stride, and I think in our interview he said like, look, it happens. Yeah, like it wasn't a good tournament. This is not one where we'll even watch the film on. Like he said, like this was we'll just kind of forget this one happened, and we'll move on in life.
Which kind of led to this conversation here with him, was going into Exists as obviously a stand-in for them. For those of you that don't know, he's currently standing in for Olaf, and
so
that's how this
we asked about
goes.
Olaf, and you know what? I will say this: who was it that tried to act like they had some exclusive story saying that Olaf Meister is closer than we think? Someone tweeted us and he tagged us saying the center ring broke this first, and I was like, "You damn right we did." But here's Guardian talk about Olaf.
I shouldn't talk about it because it's all Olaf's thing and his personal decision. But I think he should be back very soon, earlier than we expected. So I think we can see him soon.
So soon. He was very tiptoeing around the answer, though. I really want to know why Olaf Meister's not playing. Whenever you say personal reasons, that's when I want to get really nosy and be like, so, like what?
Like what? Yeah.
Because he's still because at first I was under the impression that Olaf Meister was not playing at all. But Guardian was like, no, when he's ready to come back, he'll be in the lineup and we'll be ready to go. He's still playing FPL matches and he's still practicing, and like he hasn't lost
he's
a
played like
beat.
40+ matches in the past like couple of 2 weeks or something.
Right.
So he said he's been grinding him out.
So it's not like he was like, guys, I got to step away or something. I really want to know what the reason was. But it's cool to see that, it's in the horizon that he's going to make a comeback. I kind of feel bad for Exist, but I think that team will instantly improve with all of Meister.
Oh, no, yeah.
Because they were consistently a top 2 team with him.
Yeah, I mean, he was the worst. I mean, you look at Nip. I can't talk. Reset. When Exist was on Nip, you just watching the eye test, like he was the worst player on that team. Like he was the weak link, and you could tell in this tournament, like he was just getting picked on. Like, of course, yeah. You insert Olaf, and most definitely they become a very scary team for sure. There, I got my words out. Are you proud of me?
Congratulations.
God, I'm struggling, dude. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Lack of sleep can do that to a human.
Maybe it is.
No, yeah, I mean, Olaf coming back will definitely help. Exist hasn't done bad though. They won a tournament with him, so it's not like they're playing like crap.
He's a good replacement though. Like, let's be real.
Yeah,
he's
not
a
really an experienced, really good replacement. All that talk earlier about playing on LAN, like who has more experience than him, right? And so these guys were like 87-0 or some 1 point on LAN. So yeah, I mean the replacement was fine, but Olaf coming back, I think will bring back that initial chemistry. He kind of seems like he fits FaZe more, if that makes sense, like with that current
you
group
could say
of people.
Just personality wise.
Yeah, just I mean
he's a douche.
like more of
kind of looks like a
seems
douche.
like more of a FaZe guy.
He might fit in with FaZe a little better.
A little bit. So yeah, I think that would
entire organization.
That'll just help, but it's good to hear that he is coming back soon because you never know what's going on with these guys. Device was back in the hospital today, so who knows what's going on there. So you want to see these teams. Really? Yeah, I just saw it on his Twitter a little bit earlier. But you want to see these teams at 100%. So you want to see the best against the best. And right now, with all the ups and downs you're having amongst the top 5 teams, it would be good to see all of these teams that are there right now find their stride. SK becoming comfortable with Stewie and Cold as a caller. FaZe getting their full lineup. Astralis is hitting their groove right now with this new current lineup that they have. And so it's going to be good to see these teams kind of coming about and hopefully creating better CS.
And I cannot lie. Maybe I haven't been watching Astralis games as much as I should be, or maybe I'm just not paying that much attention. I did not know that they were like leading the charge and changing the way CSGO is played. Because the way, and I mean, it like you didn't even have to have anyone tell you, right? Like if you were just watching the matches, you saw right offhand that these guys are using grenades a little differently. Like they're getting a lot more nade kills than I have ever seen a team get for CSGO. And I mean, it was very evident throughout the tournament.
Yeah, they were picking on Nico on Inferno. They killed him on Banana like 3 times when they were on T side with nade stacks. Is like
and everything here. We have audio here. This is from Zipnik, and I want to defend myself. Okay, in the interview, every time I said his name, I said it differently with like zero confidence in my voice. I know his name is Zipnik. I know that. But when Henry G in the grand finals was talking, I swear to God, he said it as, how did he say it? Zipnex. Zipix? That's what he said. He said Zipix. And I was like, oh.
I could see it the whole interview.
Have I been saying? Yeah, and I'm like, oh crap. Have I been saying his name wrong the whole time? I mean, there's a number 9 in it, so I don't know how you say that. I always thought it was Zipnik. But he said Zipik, so it rocked my world and changed the way I saw his name. And throughout the interview, it was very obvious. But we did speak with him about that meta change.
Yeah, I mean, grenades is something we've been talking about a lot on the team. Like, stop wasting grenades on stupid stuff. So obviously we've been practicing not wasting it. But also we also do double nades, those double nade stacks, which is a setup, like it's something we practice and see if it works, but in general it's just understanding of not wasting nades and using it at the right time. I think a lot of teams could benefit from learning that.
So pretty much, and he said it at a different point in the interview too. The way they practice, like Zonic pretty much rides them. Like, and we even talked to Zonic about it, and he pretty much said the
Like
same
physically
exact
and
thing.
emotionally.
Yeah,
He stands on their
physically and
shoulders as they practice. No, saying that like no, that was a big thing that Zonic was bringing over from his 1.6 days. Is like stop wasting utility. Like you threw a frag grenade at the door. Did you think
He was talking
anyone
about smokes.
or
Yeah.
smokes or really anything,
Yeah.
right? You
Spoke at 1:30. Why didn't you wait till 1 minute or a little closer to the end of the round? They didn't show you that they're going to execute yet. So
right.
why give away your positioning? And like he was just so in depth and knowledgeable about that. It was awesome.
Yeah, which I mean,
It's
it
like-
even happens in our games, right? You will throw a frag grenade at A stairs on Mirage, just at the start of the round, not because you think that's where they are, but that's just because it's what you do, right? On the off chance they decide to rush it, you can get that early damage. Whereas if you just kind of held off, knew he was sitting on Tetris, and then throw the grenade, you can get guaranteed damage on him. And that's what he said. Like he really is kind of pushing him on that. So I thought it was pretty cool.
No, yeah, for sure, and it helped him in the finals for sure. I mean, but it was like every round, not even every other round, but every round there was damage being done before a gun was even fired.
Well, it's like on
So
the
it's
first.
like-
Knew this. I mean, you could tell because they just knew the spots where to do double or even like triple nades you were seeing. I mean, it was crazy stuff, and it's not that much of a change. It's going to show the importance of the utility, and I think you'll see teams mimic that part of it. I don't think it's like a true meta change,
No,
right? It's just
it's an
don't waste
attitude.
your utility.
It's
yeah,
it's a change in attitude, but that was like on Dust 2 when they 16-1 Liquid. They said it where it was like at one point Astralis had just over 1,000 damage alone from their utilities. Liquid had 0. And this was like I think late into it, like 12 rounds into the game or something like that.
and mind you, Dust 2 was Liquid's map pick. Astralis said they hadn't even been practicing that map, so just being smart with your utility will do that for you. Like that's not them knowing every part of the map, right? Like that's
Right.
I mean,
Well,
Liquid
no,
should be the
they
team
even said
coming
it.
in with every part, with all the knowledge there, and they took it to them.
Yeah, so Astralis ended up beating them. Liquid, like Brett said earlier, though, like apart from that, I really wish. So afterwards, you get to talk to the winning team. You don't get to talk to the losing team, which, to be fair, I have had to talk to losing professional sports teams. It's never fun talking to them after a big loss. Like, so you just lost the Super Bowl. Do you want to talk to me now? It's like, no, I don't.
You want to talk about it?
Right. But I really wanted to talk to Liquid because I'm like, you can't be happy about the results, but you got to be happy about the performance. Like, take away the 16-1, and all those games were very close.
Close, like good games, down to the wire games where you really felt like a round here and there would have changed it.
It really shows, though, that the utility was the difference. I really, truly feel like that utility was the difference. There were times even on Mirage where it's like Astralis would get double kills with nades, or a guy's planting, throw a nade, boom, get the kill. It was insane how they were able to utilize that. And just to hear it from Zonic and Zipnik that, no, yeah, that's actually like a big point of practice on what we do.
Yeah, it was utilities and device, which is sad because if he's hurt again, you're not going to get to see him. But I mean, he was picking on Nitro that entire game.
He's
Pretty
got
insane.
some time to recoup. So that was pretty much ESL Dallas in a nutshell. Very good tournament, very fun weekend to go to, meet the players, get to talk to them, meet some listeners. And some of those teams will be in DreamHack Austin, which we'll talk about in our DreamHack Austin preview episode that we always do every year before we head out there. So we'll see that and talk a little bit about more why you're seeing some of the teams there, but why you're not seeing as much of the bigger name teams in Austin. But for now, throughout the week, there was a big reveal in Call of Duty Black Ops 4. I'm not going to lie, going into this, I really didn't have a lot of expectations going in. I guess maybe I'm just jaded by Call of Duty. But I'm not going to lie. My hype level is pretty real right now. Anuj, I know you probably know it more up and down of what's going on in Black Ops 4, so I'll let you kind of lead the way.
Yeah, I mean, the reveal, I was excited for the reveal coming out just because I was hoping we would get a modern style game that was boots on the ground, right? And I didn't want to see like the jetpacks and all that and go modern. It was awesome because obviously that was one of the first things that was announced. But from like a competitive standpoint, like an esports side standpoint, here were like the pluses that I got out of this. They're adding predictive recoil, and I guess I should preface that with there are dedicated PC servers this year, which are going to be run by Blizzard. There's going to be a dedicated PC version of this game, so it's
already
going to
up
be
in the
like
launcher
built
too.
for. Yeah, it's awesome. It's
So you
already
can go
there for you to
pre-order
pre-order
it.
if you want. But so there will be predictive recoil. Think Counter-Strike, but probably not as tough, just because the game has to
Going to
be
be on a
playable on
console.
console.
But still,
Yeah,
though,
so-
that's huge from a competitive standpoint. To have something in a game where someone can honestly practice and noticeably be better at it than someone and leave RNG out of the question. I mean, how many times have we said it on this show? You want a competitive game, eliminate as much RNG as you can.
Yeah, I think battle royales are kind of the kicker to that, right? That'd be the one thing that
Well, yeah.
goes
that's-
against the grain in esports.
Right.
But yeah, predictive recoil is huge, and I think that's going to be great because it just opens up a skill gap that wasn't there before. League play returns within the game, so a lot of people use if you're not using, a lot of people have used Battlefly, not Battlefly. I'm sorry, BG's Battle Games, right? I'm assuming
Battlegrounds?
that's what it's called. Or no,
Isn't
what
it
is the
Battlegrounds,
website
right?
people go to? Game Battles.
Game
There we go.
battles.
Yeah, Game Battles. Sorry, yeah,
It's been a
yeah,
hot
Game
minute
Battles.
since
So
I've ever had to worry about
it
it.
has. So people use Game Battles. There's going to be a league play within the game.
Which is
I think
MLG's baby, by the way.
Yeah, but what a great idea! Like that's what we're kind of asking for from Counter-Strike, isn't it? Is to
Yep.
have some sort of league system within the game. I mean, just something like that. I think is awesome. So one thing by doing that is they are reducing games from 6v6 to 5v5. That's going to be, again, more for the casual. I think the competitive side will stay 4v4, I'm assuming. But at least from a casual standpoint, you don't go into a game where you're worrying about a spawn camper or it's more of a competitive feel to the game. You don't feel as much of a team deathmatch vibe while playing. And so I think all of that is, at least from the esports standpoint, that's going to be huge. Wouldn't y'all agree?
Yeah, I think some of the big things with there is just the attitude Activision have going into this. The fact that they're starting to embrace the PC crowd a little more gives me hopes that maybe you'll see competitive PC Call of Duty, in the near future at tournaments and things. The fact that they've even said this is all multiplayer. They're not doing a single player for this because only 8% of the people who started the single player in the old Call of Duty, in old Black Ops, even finished it, right? So in their mind, they were like, well, why even put in the money?
Why bother?
Yeah, why bother? No one's going to play it. We'll give you Battle Royale, which, okay, whatever. But I'm more interested.
Hey, now the Battle Royale is a little unique, though. They're using, it's a massive map. There's going to be, all the interest points are going to be old, hot point locations in Call of Duty games, all the Blackout games. Which
I think that's really cool. The fact that
That's
there's going to have a different... Basically, every little section will be its own map.
Ground, air, land vehicles. They said the map is just massive, so there could be something there, right? Nobody thought Fortnite would take off. Who knows? Maybe their own twist to it helps, and it's not a free to play, obviously. But still, they might have something new to add to the equation, which is cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The only thing I'm still worried about, and it's the thing I'm always worried about with Call of Duty games, is that you're adding all this stuff, right? The league play is huge, dedicated servers, the recoil, all this is gearing it towards a very competitive atmosphere. But nothing is going to kill the competitive drive if I know by July you're coming out with a new game in October. So what's
It's already been leaked. Did you hear this?
No.
That it's going to be Modern Warfare 4.
Seriously?
Oh, I have heard that. Okay,
Because
yes.
it's different developers, right? So you don't
Right.
have the same developer making the game each year.
So they're not going to be doing all the same other things like dedicated servers and like a BR, and
I guess
that's
you
just
don't
going to be
know.
exclusive to this game.
It's a
and
yearly
not
game,
wonderful.
right? So it's going to be its own now. They might have their own BR game, and like people got to know that the old Call of Duty still have a big following, right? Like it's not like everybody migrates over. You'll notice the price on Steam kind of reflects that because there's still a player base for a lot of games. I think the hope here is that this game has a 2 to 3 year life cycle, like a legit 2 to 3 year life cycle.
Right.
But there will be a different Call of Duty next year.
Yes,
Um,
but from the competitive standpoint, like Activision's Call of Duty League, right? Like that's all up to them on what sticks. How like
Essentially, yeah. I mean,
like PC gamers don't do the whole buy a new game every year. Like if Call of Duty or Counter-Strike came out with a new game every year, the PC crowd is much different than the console gamer, I think, on that.
For
PC
sure.
crowd will spend money. I mean, look at Brett. You buy a new game like every 3 days.
I kind of do.
So you're
But,
kind
I
of
mean,
the
it's-
perfect
it's not-
example.
No. I mean, those are like, I mean, half of those are single player games, right? Like, I need a little variety in my life, but I'm not buying a different multiplayer, you know, like
It's
a
just the
different
different game
shooter
that you're climbing the ladder to be skillful on, and then it's every year you have to relearn this different mechanic or something like that.
There-
Sports
and
games,
there
though,
it
they have
is.
The same theory as sports games, right? Do you any of y'all buy or used to buy sports games year after year? Like I waited in line for Madden every year back in
Well,
the day.
Well,
and
yeah, I
stuff
mean,
like
that now that is different because, you know, we don't really give sports games a whole lot of like tread when it comes to like esports, but like shooters, I'm with Tim. Like if I put in, you know, 300-400 hours on a game, and you know I got really good at that game, and then another one comes out, and you know everyone just migrates over. It's like, well, that was a waste of, you know, 400 hours of my life
And
on
I think
that game.
the one thing that's different on that too with PCs is the amount of games you have at the ready, right? Like if they want to make the game like $30 every year and just do multiplayer, then that's a completely like throw my argument out the window because it's completely different, right? But if you're gonna charge $60 every year for just a multiplayer game, when it's like the other game is still booming in popularity and like somewhere where the pros can actually like you can have history behind it, that's just my attitude towards it. Like I'm not saying it's gonna change my opinion on the game. I just wish it had a longer shelf life so that esports you get history behind it, right?
So you mentioned one thing on this that I think is pretty intriguing. Like we hope the PC scene takes off here, right? And I think that's a much more likely possibility because what is one thing that you see at all of these major tournaments? And I think if they're running multiple games there, they already have PCs at the ready. So you can integrate COD through third-party tournament organizers. It doesn't have to be MLG that puts on this event for a big console event.
Right.
You can now have different tournament organizers pick up COD and play it as a PC game there. And the thing is, if the next Call of Duty, you know, doesn't have dedicated servers, essentially the lifespan on Black Ops 4 would be extended through PC. Same with the Battle Royale mode. If that's a really good BR game and people really actually love it, they're not going to leave it in 1 year. They're going to keep playing the game, and Black Ops 4 is still going to be supported by Treyarch.
Can you imagine? Like, because I don't think you can have a console and a PC competitive league. I don't really think. I mean, maybe it can. You know, they can be like kind of separate from each other and be successful. But oh my God, if it did switch to PC, how would you feel as a pro? like a COD pro at that point?
I think MLG will always pimp
Yeah.
this out as
well,
a console.
It's
Because
all
they're so
about
game.
the money.
Sponsored
though.
by PlayStation.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
PlayStation is paying. You think like MLG picked PlayStation because of the superior processor speed or whatever? No, they picked it because PlayStation was like, "Hey, we'll give you this money instead of Xbox," and they're like,
And they have the
"Okay."
monopoly. Yeah.
I mean, even a controller company like Scuff, these guys are probably paying oodles of money for them to just keep throwing it out there and having them at every event like they do. Like they're making their money on the console
Right.
side. This is just
Well,
another
they
avenue
know-
that
they
could
know
extend the
that
lifespan.
They have control of the console game, right? Like, yeah, you have Halo and Gears of War and things like that, but for the most part, like, what if you're getting a first-person shooter for a console, you're gonna get what all your friends have and what everyone else is playing, and that ain't Halo. You know, that's going to be Call of Duty. So they have control of console. The console scene, I don't think will ever die from it. I'm just hoping for a little bit of bump in the PC side. But it's still very early on. But I guess when is the game coming out? It's got to be
October 12th.
Yeah. So I mean, it's
far. Bro.
It's far, but it's gonna
Not too
come
bad.
quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It will come quick.
For the
Summer
sake
is
of when a
coming
game
up.
comes, you got E3 coming up in a couple weeks. You're probably gonna see a little bit more there, and then leading up.
I'm
to...
sad that it comes out so close to WoW's expansion release. That's going to be tough on me more than anything.
Tell your wife you'll be back in 2 months. Tell your spouse. Just preface it. Prepare them for it.
Maybe I'll get her pregnant. Keep her busy.
Keep her busy. Just foster more cats.
There you go.
So that's Call of Duty there. We'll keep an eye on it, though, as far as an esports growth and see what happens there. But for now, let's introduce a brand new, probably groundbreaking segment that Anuj likes to call Word on the Street.
I like the name.
All right. Well,
Is it cheesy? Can you guys let us know?
It's a work in progress.
If it's like really cheesy, let us know. We're open to changing it.
It is subject to change.
This came up around 1 p.m. today.
Yeah.
So it just kind of hit me. Let's go with this,
which explains the lack of production value, and we'll
I
probably.
think production value will be key to the name. If we can do that right, I think it could be something that sticks.
All right, but the whole premise of the segment, let's explain that, is pretty much, we always have our finger on the pulse. Our ears to the ground, right?
Sure, man. We'll go with that.
People do that. We always know what's going on behind scenes, right? We hear things all the time. And rather than tweeting it and blah, 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 being one of those guys, we figured let's talk about it on the show because that way we can deliver the clear message that these are unconfirmed rumors that we have heard.
That are obviously 100% true.
That are 100% true, and we want all the credit if it comes out later on. But if they are not true, I want to remind everyone that they are unconfirmed, and
we heard it from somebody else.
We heard it from someone else.
They lied to you, not us.
So I'm not accepting any responsibility if this is false, but I want all of the rewards if they're true. Because, we're just not afraid to push some buttons here on TCR. Anuj, why don't you start off with the first one?
Yeah, so Cajun B, when in our interview with him.
Now, this one we can say we heard.
Yeah, this one we actually
literally
heard
have
from,
audio of this. So this one is different from everything I just said. Go on.
But he still wouldn't confirm it, right? He was like,
right.
yeah, I don't know if I should talk about this that much. But anyways, they're discussing the return to EU. They're not really sure when that will take place, but we know it is happening. I guess they have ECS around the corner and a couple other tournaments that they're qualifying for, and they'll probably stay in NA for the qualifiers because let's be real, it's a little easier. And then they'll make their way.
Rather play EU because of the challenge.
Who wouldn't? Okay, who's not going to say that, right? Let's be real. Like as much as we love Cajun B, still probably lied right there. It's nice to probably play this NA competition compared to the EU.
Right.
It's just easier to qualify. It just is. And so, yeah, but they should be making their way back to EU. They'll be living back at home. And yeah, we can expect to see that coming after the next few tournaments here.
So Optic is moving back to EU for their Counter-Strike scene. Another one here, we all know that they're in Arlington, Texas, just down the street from us. They are building an esports arena in part of the Arlington Convention Center. It's going to be like a 1,000-seat arena and host little events there. But there's also rumors going on that in Frisco, Texas, another down the street, just a different direction from us, is that by 2020 you're going to see one or two esports arenas there, and those I can only imagine are going to be really nice.
One in Arlington.
Okay, one in Arlington, which has been confirmed. Frisco's opening it up one, and man, I gotta think that's gonna happen because you have
Dallas Cowboy money and they own Frisco right now.
You have Complexity out there. I'm pretty sure Optic think is in Frisco.
Yep,
you have Envious in Dallas. Frisco is, for people who aren't in like the DFW Metroplex, Frisco 10 years ago used to be like the city that felt like it was hours away. Nothing was out there.
Nothing.
Well, now
It's a
it
quick 45-minute drive and
it's a
feels
quick
great.
40. You take the tollway up there. It's not bad, and everything is out there. The PGA is supposed to be moving their headquarters out there. It's rumored. Dallas
Toyota, State
Cowboys,
Farm, like all
Toyota,
these
State Farm
people.
moved headquarters out there. It's ridiculous. Dallas Stars have their headquarters. FC Dallas, everyone moved out to Frisco because all it was land for the taking, and so the fact that, like Anuj said, you got Cowboys money out in Frisco, so I can easily see them building a very nice esports
You know
arena.
who else wishes they were in Frisco? Verizon Grand Prairie, like the Verizon Theater. These guys, that's the other knock on that, going back to for a second, is the location. How perfect would it have been if this was located out
Okay,
in
so can I
Frisco
tell you a
and have
story that I know
that kind of
about
venue
Grand
there?
Prairie?
Uh-huh.
So when they built the Verizon Theater and like Ripley's Believe It or Not, which is just so random to have out there, but it's out there, that was supposed to be like what Arlington is now. So like,
Like they were going to build around it.
yeah, like the original plan was, hey, we're going to build this stuff out in Grand Prairie and we're going to make it very entertainment district and everything like that. And then Arlington kind of became that place.
Yeah, it kind of sucks because they also have that Lone Star Park, which is like the gambling
horse
for
race
horse
and-
gambling. Dude, they should tear that down and make that like a sports betting area now that it's changing, and that could maybe do it. But yeah, you kind of wish that was the venue out there because I feel like everybody would enjoy it more.
But
including the
again,
players.
Jerry Jones could have an esports tournament at the Star, which is where the Cowboys practice, and it would look good. Like
I just want to see one that's more than like. So I know we mentioned Arlington has like the 1,000-seater.
they won't be able to host big events though.
No, they won't. That's
especially
what I'm
with
hoping.
where
The Frisco
esports
one
is
is like
going.
at 10,000.
1,000
And
seat.
you get,
Oh, go ahead.
no, I mean, just to kind of speak on that, I mean, you got to think like if we're talking about Dallas Cowboy money and Jerry money, I mean, part of the reason why Jerry built, the new stadium that the Cowboys play in is because he wants to host things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to believe that if he's involved, like he's gonna build something where esports events can be hosted at.
And that part is the more
right.
unconfirmed part. We don't know who is involved with the
Right.
Frisco build. We
Right,
just
I
know
mean,
that
but
there was a facility there. But yeah, I mean, if it was, that would be good. I just hope it's some sort of big arena. I don't want to see another 1,000-seat arena.
You hear Frisco and you think Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
I think that would be almost a safe one to say as well. But yeah, the one in Arlington, if it's really only going to be 1,000-seater, I mean, that might be okay for now. But I mean, that's not future-proof by any means. If esports is going to be the way people are saying,
that
it's going
seems
to be.
like some sort of league play kind of venue,
right?
Right, not a major event. No one's gonna rent it out for a major event.
Yeah.
Not even a console game.
Like an Overwatch league, if they
like
have the home at home,
the fuel play out there or whatever.
Yeah,
it's very well. Even though I know Mike told us the one time that they really want to try keeping that in Dallas proper, but I don't think that opinion matters if money.
One thing that you mentioned, it's like pretty easy to get to from Dallas or Fort Worth.
I think money can change anyone's mind. Next thing, the next word on the street is that Blizzard is in talks of maybe 8 or 9 franchises going into Overwatch League, but will most likely take 6. Did I translate that right, Anuj? This is your writing.
Yeah. So Blizzard is, talking to 8 or 9 different investors at this moment. We don't know what the price is going to be to buy in, 20, 30 million, whatever it may be. And it looks like they'll most likely take 6 franchises into next year's league. So just adding either another division or just making divisions larger. But yeah, you're expected to see, I mean, from what we're hearing, I know somebody from one of the main investors for the LA Dodgers was like involved in this also as one of the bidders. Paul Allen is rumored to be involved. So we're hearing some like
adding a team in
like,
Paris, right? Where
I mean, there was one in Paris.
Alienware is going to have their own setup out there in Paris, and they want to add a team out there.
Like just put some sort of team like they did with Liquid to the one here in LA, add a team for the one out in Paris. So yeah, you're hearing like Paul. I mean, when you hear these Paul Allen and all that kind of names, I mean, these are like billionaires, dude. These guys got oodles of money. So some really big names looking to potentially get involved. Whether they're the ones that win these or get these teams, who knows? But you're looking at about 6 new teams joining for next year.
And I think you will also see. I think as it grows, pretty much every year you're going to see restructure with the divisions. Because obviously, when you get more EU teams, you're probably just going to want, because with home and home, right? You're obviously going to want them to play more at home, and then that
Like
way,
from a scheduling
yeah, from
standpoint,
a
staying in Europe and then
yeah,
traveling to another European city or
exactly.
something.
Stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane. I think that's how that's going to work. But that'd be pretty awesome to see Paris get a team. They could name it the Paris Baguettes.
The Paris parasites.
Brett,
That would be kind of crappy.
What?
do you want
You
to
want me
get,
to-
do you want to
uh,
get on this?
The Paris penne pasta.
The penne pasta. I like the baguettes. The baguettes, yeah, okay. I can get behind
We
that.
go with that one.
Way to be original, bro.
Although it's probably going to be something related to like PSG, right? Oh, well, I mean they can't because
That's like a
well, I mean unless they
Blizzard won't
unless
do
they
it.
They're also rumored, just so you know, to be an investor too.
Yeah,
so,
PSG, which they're already
yeah.
into esports, so that would make sense though.
Yeah.
Right? They do Rocket
Yeah.
League and FIFA. And,
That wouldn't be breaking much, so we didn't write it down.
you know, we only go with the big stories here. Speaking
Like
of
it's the
big
next one.
stories, so this is like a rumor within a rumor within a rumor. All right, so hold my hand as we dive into this one here. So it is rumored.
Brett, he said hand. He said hand.
You can hold it, Brett.
Thanks, man.
So it is rumored that Envious of Counter-Strike is looking into possibly dropping their roster, so no longer being a French roster and entering into more of the NA scene. This somewhat makes sense when you think, okay, Envious is now based out of Dallas, Texas, and Envious's roster has now been relegated from not one but 2 pro leagues, and they're pretty much at an all-time low, and the French shuffle is about to happen anyway, so you're going to have to be paying money out for buyouts that you probably didn't even want any part of to begin with. You just
They
wish your
don't. They
roster
didn't do
would
it the
have done
first time. They're not going to do it this time.
Right. So it is rumored now that Envious CSGO division is now looking into going more NA. Which NA teams are out there? There's discussion of possibly NRG just buying out the roster for NRG.
Envious buying out the roster for NRG.
Yes, yeah. Envious buying NRG's roster. This also kind of makes sense because NRG, we just discussed earlier, have been playing really well lately, especially in league play. The LAN play can follow, right? I feel like if you can make it to the LANs, eventually your LAN play will improve.
Probably get more people interested in your team if your team is named Team Envious. So
Exactly.
that'll
Yeah,
also
that's
help.
That is,
yeah, that's
that
what I
is
was
very
going to bring
true.
up. It's, I mean,
Just
yeah, just the
brand
name in
behind it.
itself. Yeah,
The
will
brand
get you
behind
invited.
it, with it being in North American or North America, I think that's always helps too as far as a fan prospect, right? More North American teams, more people getting involved. It also makes sense on why NRG just didn't re-sign their coach either.
Yeah.
I mean,
And Envious is NA headquartered, you know, and they're pretty centralized. And from what we hear, there's a couple of esports arenas opening up in the area. So maybe we see a team located in Texas.
Yeah, and I mean, they get NRG, they instantly become like top 4, right? In NA.
in NA,
You think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
like-
I mean,
like I said, this is all rumors, but when you really dissect it, you're like, oh, yeah, that could happen. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. You know, that you didn't sign Imi, your former coach, and, you know, I know he's from the United Kingdom. I don't know if he, like, lives out there, but maybe that was one of the reasons where they were like, yeah, we're not staying here, right? Like, this is not going to be
But they
the same
signed a big
roster, we
name
don't want
coach.
him.
They didn't sign a small name coach. So I think the coach move is independent of
Of the roster rumors?
this. Yeah, because it's I'm a Pet. So I'm a Pet's not like a pushover, like 1 month coach, transition type coach.
that
like
former
he's
Optic?
there. Former Optic, but
Oh.
really like where
Okay.
he made his showing was what CLG, right? That's
Right.
where he like was really good. With Optic, unfortunately,
That
that
just
was
short.
just let's be real. That whole thing just did not work out over there, from player standpoint to everything. So this will be a good test because I think he's taking over a talented roster, and
Possibly getting a bigger org in there.
yeah, they're trying to get to that next level. So that'll be good.
So there you have it. Oh
I
wait,
think the
no,
last
we have
one's
one more.
important.
Yes,
We got one more.
go-
This last
go
one
for
is
it.
last one's big. So This is being reported now. Okay, so you're starting to see this.
Are you not gonna honor your own segment here?
Word on the street
Thank you.
is G2 is about to have this. There's about to be this massive French shuffle. What we're hearing is the organization G2 is going to be the org to pick up Shox' team, which means Apex falls to the wayside, which means NBK, which is kind of the biggest news that started to leak today. So we should have done this segment like a couple hours ago. But NBK won't be part of this grouping, and you will see a team of Body, Smits, Extends, Shox, and Kenny S. And so I think that team has a better chance to do anything than this team is currently doing. Only thing I'm surprised about is Body, but Body was also known as a heavy fragger prior to joining the G2 roster. It's just with that many big names, he got kind of shoved into a support role. So now with Smits, who is a born support player, Body might have the chance to go into more of a fragging role. I really wish one of these teams would pick up Scream. Like, not in one. I wish this team would pick up Scream, but there's obviously something more there because if, I just feel like that would be a better choice in my opinion. But yeah, that's what we're hearing. So
that one, though, will probably be confirmed
sooner than later.
But,
you won't have to wait
by
too
one
long.
of our sources. We're still waiting to hear back. We have so many feelers out there. It's hard to really round up all of them. When you want to hear about, when you want to get confirmations, but that's it. That is all the words on the street. Again, unconfirmed. I'm not going to take any credit for if they're false, but when they are real, you remember where you heard it here first on the center ring. Let's get into some e-news, shall we? Kind of a lighter e-news here in CSGO. You have this Space Soldiers drama that's going on now where last I heard that they were going to, the organization was going to drop the roster, and now it looks like there's a little bit more to it, Anuj.
No, so Space Soldiers has the most amazing deal with their players. They got these guys on like 2 or 3 year contracts, paying them like basically nothing. I mean, you're talking like hundreds of dollars a month, okay? So we're looking at like maybe $500-$600 a month is what's rumored. And so these guys are on these crap contracts, and they're busy trying to renegotiate their contracts because they play well online. Like, they do a good job. They make a lot of these big events, and they're not making anything because they don't also win in these big events. So it's not like they're taking home a lot of prize money. They're just making into it, which is a lot of exposure. But the other thing is it looks like 4 of the players wanted to potentially kick one of them, and the org wasn't allowing it because, again, what happens? You kick a guy on a bad contract, you probably got to pick up somebody who's more knowledgeable about it. So they blacked out all their social media. They took all the Space Soldiers logos off. They put black pictures on their not like black people, like plain black canvas pictures on their icon or whatever, avatar or whatever you want to call
LeBron James
on Twitter. Why is LeBron James? So they blacked out everything, and yeah, I mean that's just kind of crazy. Again, if you are an esports player, this is like a moment of advice for you. If you're getting into esports, you're a true good player. If you're crappy, don't bother. But if you're good, consult with somebody before you sign anything. Don't sign away your life just to get onto a team because if you're that good, you'll get other opportunities.
Man, those are some words of wisdom there. No, you're right. And I know Decay was going on about that too, which I don't want to spend e-news breaking down my opinion on Decay, but I think it's easier to say than done, right? Like, if you're a young kid and you don't know if you're ever going to get another chance to sign, I'm not saying they should do it. I'm just saying I can see why, right? Like, it definitely happens where these guys are kind of tricked into signing these really bad contracts.
If you feel like it's a stroke of luck that you're getting a contract, like if somebody came to us and wanted to sponsor us type thing, like if that were to happen, I get it. But if you're truly a very good player and you know that and you're competing in FPL and some of these top tier, situations, opportunities will come. Look at Stewie.
Just watch.
At Robs. Like, it happens.
Just watch how little the deal is when I sign away TCR.
Oh my pennies, dude! Give me a free shirt.
Yeah, we are cheap.
Shirt.
We are cheap. How about you just...
I will take a shirt that's like 2 sizes too big, and this is yours.
Speaking of shirts, you guys I finally gave you your shirts from
Best in slot.
Best in slot.
Best in Slot. Pretty
Those
comfy.
are
Yeah.
those are really comfortable. So thank
Dude.
you guys very much for that.
Oh man, that shirt. I sent you guys a message. I'm like, I want to be buried in this shirt.
Yeah.
So
Time out.
comfortable.
Hashtag not an ad. Okay.
Yes.
So this is not an ad for them. We're not doing any. We're not affiliated with them in any
No.
way.
But
They were
go
just
if
cool.
you
They
want.
wanted to send us some free
Yeah.
swag.
Go to Best in
And-
Slot. If you Google Best in Slot clothes, or it's BIS
I thought it was
clothing.
sloth.
No, it's slot. Their logo is a sloth. It's Best in
Oh.
Slot.
Oh, okay.
But man,
That's confusing.
I don't know what they did to get those shirts that soft, but they even say that soft after washing.
They even fit comfortable, like on my
I know.
chest and my arms,
I
and
know.
God,
And my breasts don't look big in it, so I
That's
appreciate
really-
that.
Yeah, that's. They just make me look like I'm one rather than
Yeah.
curvy. Again, though,
black.
that's not an ad or anything. It's just, I just think their shirts are soft. In
So I
other
appreciate y'all sending those over.
in other news, there, Cloud9 backs out of ESL New York because they want to play at Blast Pro Series, which it sucks because again
It's in Istanbul.
it's in Turkey, which is where Tarek and like his whole family's from. So like I completely don't blame him because he's probably not going to get a whole lot of chances to play a tournament at home in Turkey.
He's also from Brooklyn, though. He's like grown and raised
Yeah,
in Brooklyn, so
yeah.
it's like
But again,
pretty crappy too.
he can go back to ESL New York anytime. That's
Look,
going to
but
be
this
there
is not a
every year.
Cloud9 decision. Don't you agree? This is not a player decision. This is not something where like I'm sure the players like we want to go to this one versus that one because there's a monetary fine here for doing it. They accepted the invite. For ESL. Now maybe the players voted
I was
this,
gonna
but
say,
like I think ultimately this is like an org.
You know, if you want my opinion, I bet you Blast Pro Series said, don't worry about that fine. We'll pay up the difference if you come play at this tournament instead. And I'm sure the players looked at Tarek and he really wanted to go to it, so they probably voted for it.
it's a money whip.
Yeah, I think it's all a money whip there. But so now Liquid is now playing at ESL New York, which honestly probably isn't a bad, like that's probably better for New York.
It is, but don't you find that like ESL New York is like I find that to be a huge event, like one of the premier events
Yeah.
for the year for ESL, and for Cloud9 to back out on it for Blast Pro, like what is Blast Pro Series? Dude, it's been around for 1 year, maybe. I mean,
Yeah,
So
bro,
last
we've
year, their
talked
first
about
year?
Blast Pro Series before. Yeah,
but like last year was their first year, right? Like
Yes,
they weren't around
yeah.
prior to that, so I don't know why you
they've
would make that
somehow
move.
they've morphed this vision of Blast Pro though, where it's just like this tournament to be, and it's proved anything but. I mean, yeah, you got some unique ideas there, but I don't know.
I like the thought behind it. The execution last year was horrendous, so they better come through this year. And now they took out, Cloud9 again. New York, you're welcome. That's probably a good move for y'all, but still, just a little surprising that that's the route they went because I feel like you wouldn't want to turn your back like that on ESL.
Fortnite announced something big. We've always talked when is Fortnite going to break into esports, and boy, did they ever. They
Took over Twitter.
they announced that they are going to host their first ever tournament next year with a $100 million prize pool.
No, okay, so that's
Is
a
that
little
false?
different. So
Okay.
yeah, it's $100 million in prize money that's going to be allocated to Fortnite-based sponsored tournaments throughout the year. So it's not gonna be a
That's what I get
one
for just reading the
tournament.
headline.
Yeah. So it's not a one, match $100 million and somebody can
Yeah.
retire.
Okay.
No, this is spread out between console. So there's going to be PS4, Xbox, and PC tournaments. There are going to be tournaments throughout the year, but they're going to be Fortnite sponsored events, right? So you're still going to have like your ESLs and whatever else host Fortnite tournaments, but the ones that are sponsored by them will be $100 million in value. And there'll also be like in-game tournaments that I think they're about to get involved with. This is really going to take a different direction here pretty soon.
Yeah.
So get ready for it because it's going to be pretty big this next year.
So I mean, you even just take out like cut it into thirds to the different like platforms. Counter Strike orgs are still like what the hell? It's
Yeah.
No, so look at this.
$33 million is still like
The top
still pretty
16
big.
games last year, okay, and I forgot who tweeted this out. I think it was Optic Print. Texas tweeted this out, but the top 16 games from last year, net producing on tournaments, right? Counter Strike being number 2 behind, I believe it was Dota because of the international. Really, that's the only thing that really jumped that above. Were valued. The top 16 were valued at 100 million exactly, pretty much. Fortnite will be doing that all in 1 year. The same amount of money for one game in 1 year. So it's great that they're turning around and taking some of that money that they've made, because they have made a lot of money, and putting it right back into the players' pockets.
Yeah.
Granted, that's not people like us, but at least
it's nice to see that game developers can do that.
They're jumping in fully. You know something crazy that I learned about Fortnite, and not just Fortnite, multiple
It's
games.
not fun.
I didn't know Tencent owns 40% of Epic Games also. So Tencent owns PUBG. They own 40% of Epic Games. They own like a big part of EA, a big part of DICE. I didn't know that. They owned all these guys. So if y'all are interested in that, go take a look at it, because there's a lot of cool information. But yeah, they own majority of these game companies.
And in Rainbow Six, Ubisoft announced that I think starting later this year, I don't have the information in front of me, but that they are going to a league play. So rather than just pros with tournaments and everything like that, they're moving it to a more formal league with relegation built in, though, for contender teams. So you're going to see, hopefully have a little bit more structure to it, and a little bit more avenues for people who want to see that progression and become a pro.
So are they not going to make then a new Rainbow Six, or just keep adding operators and maps, basically?
I think they are
That's
really,
what I heard.
I don't think they have any plans of a new Rainbow Six for a while.
That's good, though.
Yeah.
I like that.
Ubisoft has said before, they're seeing growth, and they're okay with it, right? Like, they don't need to be number one. Their finals still pull in good numbers. Liquid just won the pro, whatever they call it there, the pro season there. So it's
Liquid's good in a lot of different esports. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, they find them. So yeah, next weekend you have the Rocket League finals. So Brett will cover that.
I'm on it.
He is
I'm
on
excited.
it. No
I love
stone
watching.
will be left unturned.
I've said it. There's no this game has the highest skill gap, I think, the skill cap out of any esport, in my opinion. I don't know.
Brett won't be with us next week. We apologize for that. But tune in and hear more.
What?
I don't know. So that will just about do it for the show. That was a long one, but I felt like it was a good one. And that's okay. That is okay. Episode 106 of The Centering, a.k.a. TCR, a.k.a. your favorite esports podcast, is done. It's in the books. We thank you for listening. If you listen to the full 120 or so minutes of it, I love you. You're crazy. If you skipped around, I love you all the same. Let us know what you thought of Word on the Street. If you have any name suggestions for that segment, let us know. We're always open to ideas. And let us know on Twitter at The Centering how you liked the episode, how you liked the show, what we can do to change. Our website, tcr.gg, will have all of our information there. You can join us on Discord. Let us know what's up. Again, remember all those rumors you heard. You heard it here first. And if they're wrong, then that's not our fault. But until next time, for Brett, for Anuj, I'm Tim. We'll see ya.